Welcome back. We're continuing with Dante's Inferno, Canto 20. I'm trying something a little bit new this time. I do it every time, just trying to make this more doable for me. So I have engaged AI to help me kind of break down the Inferno, the passages, and give us some better insight into tips and better understanding. So instead of vocabulary this time, I'm going to go over symbolism, some allusions, things like that. And then I'm going to do, like I've been doing, a summary of what the passage is going to be. Then I'm going to read the translated version that I have from Project Gutenberg. So if you haven't downloaded that, it's at projectgutenberg.com. I'll put the link in the box below. But it lets you access free all the public domain works of art. So let's read. Let me get it up on my tablet. So here we go. No, that is not it. That is, here we go. I had it all open and then something else opened. All right, this is Canto 20. We're calling it the Twisted Prophets. So down the slope we went, Dante clinging close to his guide, the air growing heavier with each step. The great chasm opened beneath them like a wound in the earth, and from it rose sounds not of wailing alone, but of sobs mingled with distorted laughter. Oh, that sounds like an insane asylum that we hear about. When Dante leaned out to look, he drew back in horror. There, moving in slow procession, came figures whose bodies were whole, but whose faces were terribly wrong. It's like a scary movie, right? I think this would make a good movie. It's just hard to understand all these allusions and these things that are historically from a time period that you have to really study because it's so long ago. Their heads had been turned completely around, the neck twisted grotesquely, so that their tears ran down their spines instead of their cheeks. So imagine if I could, like an owl, turn my head completely around. So the front of your body is here, the back of your head, and your tears are streaming down your back. They walked forward, yet could only see behind them. "Tell me, master," Dante whispered, "who are these souls so bent against nature?" Virgil's eyes were grim. "These are the fortune tellers, the diviners, the false seers. In life, they dared to look too far ahead, pretending to see what heaven had concealed." So there's the concept that we need to have our faith in God. There was the Old Testament story about the manna, which was a type of food that God provided daily to the Egyptians when they were in, what do you call it? There's a word that I'm looking for. They were lost in their journey. And there's a word, but I can't think of it. Not migration. Anyway, the exodus of the Egyptians, of the Jews, not the Egyptians, of the Jews. And so every morning they would be given just enough food for the day, and it would, if you took more than a share of a day, it went rotten really quickly. And the idea was that you rely on God for your daily needs. You don't get into the future. You don't start mingling in or meddling into the future, trying to anticipate the future, trying to change the future, because that would have been blasphemous. Remember that word from before? So these are the people that could do that, like the tarot card readers or the fortune tellers or the predictors. For that arrogance, they are condemned to look forever behind. I love the irony of that. Stumbling blind into what lies before them. That seems an appropriate consequence, right? As they passed, Dante recognized some by name, called out by Virgil. Amphiaraus, the prophet swallowed by earth at Thebes, now pacing endlessly with back-turned eyes. Tiresias, who once changed form from man to woman and back, now broken in posture, paying for unnatural sight. Manto, the witch of Mantua, whose lies founded Dante's own poet's homeland. The poet's heart grew heavy. He wept at the sight of such ruin, for pity still stirred him. But Virgil turned sharply. "Are you still so foolish? Here is justice divine. Do not weep for what is rightly punished. No tear can cleanse what they chose in pride." Ashamed, Dante wiped. So Dante's conflicted. Like he feels sorry for them and their outcome, and yet Virgil's correcting them. They got what they deserved. This idea that punishment is deserved. That's a very human characteristic. Though the image of those twisted bodies burned into him, Virgil then told of Manto in greater detail, how she wandered and settled by the waters, and how from her line came the city that would one day give Virgil birth. In this cursed pit, even his heritage was tangled with sorrow. At last, the two travelers moved on, leaving the prophets behind to their endless backward gaze. Dante walked in silence, chastened and with a mind turned forward, for the past he could not change, and the future was forbidden to see. That's really an interesting concept, and something, if I were a teacher, I'd have us do some kind of journaling or group project on the conflict of, or the danger of knowing too much about the future, and the captivity of only being able to look back at the past. It gives me a lot of interesting thoughts. So let's talk about some of the literary devices that are used in 20. Twisted heads are a symbol, the twisted heads, the turned around heads. The most striking image of the canto is the souls whose heads are twisted backward. This punishment is grotesque and symbolic. The literal inversion, they tried to look forward into the future, claiming the powers of prophecy that belonged only to God. Now, really, you have to read this, you have to understand the context that these people were all Christians who believed in God. So if that's not what your perspective is, you're going to reject a lot of this. You're not going to appreciate it, but you have to accept the rules and the guidelines that these people live by. In hell, they can only look backward. Their sight is now reversed. Tears flowing down the back. Instead of tears falling naturally down the face, their grief now stains the body in a way that looks unnatural. It's a symbol of distorted humanity. They use their gifts unnaturally in life, so their very bodies were made unnatural in death. Irony of blindness. Though they once boasted of sight, like because you can see the future, you're a seer is what they were called. Here they stumble blindly. What they sought has become their eternal torment. These are some really fertile ideas for my teachers and my AP students to pursue thoughts on this passage. Now, another literary area to look at is pity and reproof. Dante's tears for them mark an important, remember he cries and then Virgil corrects him, an important moment in his moral education. He feels compassion, as we naturally might when confronted with suffering. Virgil corrects him, reminding him that hell is a realm of perfect justice. Pitying the damned is pitying rebellion against divine order. So you can't have that natural feeling that you want because they're like, oh, are you against God? Which I think is a little bit of a dangerous place to be, because you look at theocracies, countries that are ruled by God as the leader. How do you argue with God? And if it's truly God, you don't need to worry about arguing with God. But so often the leaders are just humans that are saying they're being talked to by God. And then if you try to, if they say, so-and-so should be killed, or this group of people should be killed. And if you think it's immoral or wrong and you try to object to it, well, who are you to object to what God's saying? So I get a little nervous when we have this idea that divine intervention is led by a political leader or a teacher or anybody else. I'm having a migraine, so there's squiggles in my sight. It just came on while I started reading, so I'm having trouble seeing. So if you see me doing my eyebrows like this, I'm trying to make the wiggles go away. Where did we go? Symbolically, Dante has learned to align his emotions with divine justice rather than human sympathy. His weeping shows he's still in transition from mortal weakness to spiritual clarity. So saying it that way, that affirms that the writer wants to claim the truth that I just discussed. And even this commentary means we have to accept that truth also. So then we've got historical and mythical figures. They weave myth and history into hell's geography. Amphiaraus from Thebes, a seer who foresaw his own death but could not escape it, swallowed by the earth. So it's giving us some background on Amphiaraus. Amphius. I said it right the first time, now I can't get it back. His presence reinforces the futility of prophecy. Even foreknowledge cannot avert destiny. Tiresias, the legendary prophet who changed sex, a symbol of blurred boundaries and unnatural power. His twisted body mirrors his manipulation of natural order. Manto, a prophetess, a woman prophet, whose wanderings link directly to the founding of Mantua, Virgil's birthplace. This personal connection lets Virgil take the stage, offering a digression into history and geography, blending myth with the poet's own roots. These figures remind the reader that Dante is not just talking about random witches, he's grappling with the deepest human longing to know the future. And isn't that typical? Don't we want to know the future? And the danger of crossing divine limits. And our fourth point is the theme of forbidden knowledge. Canto 20 explores humanity's fascination with knowing what we're not meant to know. The fortune tellers embody the arrogance of trying to pierce God's plan. Like, I'm smarter than you, God. I'll outsmart you by predicting the future. The punishment dramatizes the teaching that only God holds the future. Symbolically, their forward-looking gaze is twisted into an endless looking backward. They may never again see what lies ahead. It's about inversion, distortion, the tragic irony of human arrogance. The twisted bodies reflect twisted desires. The backward gaze is the eternal consequence of trying to see too far ahead. I really like this concept. And Dante himself is caught between natural pity and divine justice, a tension that makes the canto not just about the damned, but about Dante's own education. So let's go to the actual reading. Let me see. That is, gosh, my eyesight is really giving me trouble. Okay, there's Canto 19. Where's 20? Come on, 20. End of people. Oh, why is it the end of the book? 20. 20. All right. I'm gonna make that bigger. If I stumble in my reading, I apologize, guys. If you've ever had a migraine, you understand. It's like lightning bolts are in my vision, and so they cut across the script, and instead of seeing words, I see lightning, which is kind of cool, but I don't really makes it a little challenging. Oop, I went back to 19. All right. Of a new pain behooves me to make verses and give material to the 20th canto of the first song, which is of the submerged. I was already thoroughly disposed to peer down into the uncovered depth, which bathed itself with tears of agony. And people saw I through the circular valley, silent and weeping, coming at the pace which in this world the litanies assume. As lower down my sight descended on them, wondrously each one seemed to be distorted from chin to the beginning of the chest. For towards the reins the countenance was turned, and backward it behooved them to advance, as to look forward had been taken from them. So see, if I had not just read the more modern English, I would not have realized that the heads are turned around by this passage. So that's why I'm making it simpler, because this language is not the way we craft sentences. Perchance, indeed, by violence of palsy, someone has been thus wholly turned awry, but I ne'er saw it, nor believe it can be. As God may let thee, reader, gather fruit from this thy reading, think now for thyself, how I could ever keep my face unmoistened. When our own image near me I beheld, distorted so, the weeping of the eyes along the fissure bathed the hinder parts. Truly I wept, leaning upon a peak of the hard crag, so that my escort, Virgil, said to me, Art thou too of the other fools? Here pity lives, when it is wholly dead. Who is a greater reprobate? A reprobate is like a bad person, than he who feels compassion at the doom divine. So the doom divine would be justified punishment. Lift up thy head, and see for whom opened the earth before the Thebans' eyes. Wherefore they all cried, Whither rushest thou? Amphiaraus, why dost leave the war? And downward sees he not to fall amain, as far as Minos, who lays a hold on all. See, he has made I want to open my eyes so big to make the lightning move. He has made a bosom of his shoulders, because he wished to see too far before him. Behind he looks, and backward goes his way. Behold Tiresias, who his semblance changed, when from a male a female he became, his members being all of them transformed, and afterwards was forced to strike once more the two entangled serpents with his rod, ere he could have again his manly plumes. That Aruns is who backs the other's belly, who in the hills of Luni there were grubs, the Cararisi, whose houses underneath, among the marbles white a cavern had for his abode, whence to behold the stars and see the view was not cut off from him. And she there, who is covering up her breast, which thou beholdest not, with loosened tresses, long hair, and on that side has all the hairy skin, was Manto, who made quest through many lands, afterwards tarried there where I was born, whereof I would thou list to me a little listen. After her father had from life departed, and the city of Bacchus had become enslaved, I have to make a New Orleans comment. Bacchus is a famous Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans. It's a god of wine, right? And the city of Bacchus had become enslaved. She, a long season, wandered through the world. Above in beauteous Italy lies a lake at the Alps' foot that shuts in Germany over Tyrol and has the name Benaco. By 1,000 springs, I think, and more is bathed. Twixt Garda and Val Camonica, I'm having trouble, Penino, with water that grows stagnant in that lake. Midway a place is where the Trentine pastor and he of Brescia and the Veronese might give his blessing if he passed that way. Sitteth Peschiera, fortress fair and strong, to front the Brescians and the Bergamasques, where round about the bank. I want to make a teaching point, a life point to you guys in school. I'm struggling seeing, but I'm not making the excuse to not do it, but I also want you to understand I'm willing to do something not perfectly. And you may come in and say, that was a horrible reading. And you have every right to say that. But in school, you might stumble over words. You might not know how to pronounce it. Don't shut down. Don't close down. Just realize I'm going to do the best I can. And if it's terrible, I'll learn to get better. But this is how we get through things. Too often, I would see students struggle and then they give up. And things are hard. Adversity comes. And it is hard to see when you've got lightning bolts in your view. Or maybe these are crazy words that you don't quite know how to sound out. Phonics was not your strong point. Don't give up. Just keep powering through it. And that's how you grow and that's how you learn. And if somebody laughs at you in class, I can't tell you to say something rude or to hit them, but just rise above yourself and say, at least I'm willing to read. At least I'm willing to take the risk. That makes me brave, and I like myself. So give yourself that positive feedback when you hear people maybe making fun of the attempt you're making at school. I had so much respect for kids in foreign language class, my ESL students, my students with learning disabilities that would just give their heart to the work. Even if somebody laughed at them, even if somebody, snickered at them or tried to make them feel less than. You're not less than. Where round about the bank descendeth lowest. There of the necessity must fall whatever in bosom of, it's getting so much worse, of Binaco cannot stay, and grows a river down through the verdant pastures. Soon as the water doth begin to run, no more Benaco is it called, but Mincio, far as Governo, where it falls in Po. Po is a river. Not far it runs. Let's see how much longer. Oh, it's still good. We're almost there. Okay. Not far it runs before it finds a plain, in which it spreads itself and makes it marshy, and oft 'tis wont is it often wants to in summer to be sickly. Passing that way, the virgin pitiless land in the middle of the fen descried, until and naked of inhabitants. There to escape all human intercourse, she with her servants stayed her arts to practice, and lived and left her empty body there. This is still about that third, the prophetess. The men, therefore, who were scattered round, collected that place, which was made strong by the lagoon it had on every side. They built their city over, I heard the song, they built their city on rock and roll. They built their city over those dead bones, and after her, first the place selected, Mantua named it, without other omen. Its people once within more crowded were, ere the stupidity of Casalodi from Pinamonte had received deceit. Therefore, I caution thee, if ever thou hearest originate my city otherwise, no falsehood may the verity, truth defraud. And I, my master, thy discourse are, to me so certain, and so take my faith, that unto me the rest would be spent coals. But tell me of the people who are passing, if any one noteworthy thou beholdest, for only unto that my mind reverts. Then said he, Virgil, to me, Dante, he who from the cheek thrust out his beard upon this swarthy shoulder was at the time when Greece was void of males, so that there scarce remained one in the cradle. An augur, and with Calachus gave the moment in Aulis when to sever the first cable. Orpheus, his name was, and so sings my lofty tragedy in some part or other. Thou knowest thou well, who knowest the whole of it. Wasn't it easier to understand what I read, which was the passage that AI created for us? I don't even see the beauty of the language. It's just so out of date for us. I would really encourage teachers, if we're going to teach this, to teach it from a history perspective instead of a literary perspective, and to really use more like modern translations, just like what AI did. Because I'm not stupid, and this makes no, I mean, it's not easy when I can't see, but this whole book is just troublesome to me, which I just, maybe you lose respect for me, but maybe this is super simple for y'all, but I don't get it. The next, who is so solemn in the flanks, was Michael Scott. Not The Office Michael Scott. Y'all, how funny is that? Who is a verity of magical illusions, knew the game. Behold, Guido Bonatti. Behold, Astente, who now unto his leather and his thread would fain have stuck, but he too late repents. So he's too late in confessing his sin. Behold the wretched ones, who left the needle, the spool and rock, and made them fortune tellers. They wrought their magic spells with herb and image. But come now, for already holds the confines of both the hemispheres, and under Seville touches the ocean wave, Cain and the thorns. And yesternight the moon was round already. Thou shouldest remember well it did not harm thee from time to time within the forest deep. Thus spake he to me, and we walked the while. Well, we got through one more canto. What did I say? We've got like 32 to go. We've got to go to 32 or 42, something like that. I don't know if we're going to make it or not. All right. If you're curious to continue with me and you want something simpler and happier, I'm reading for my granddaughter. So she has a collection of bedtime stories for me. So because these migraines go away pretty quickly, I'll probably sit for a minute, close my eyes, I know what happened. The way the sun's coming in the window, it does something to my eyes, and it makes it like burns my retinas or something. I don't know. I made that up, but it always causes a migraine when the outside light is brighter than the inside light. So that explains it. But it'll go away shortly, and then I will read my granddaughter's one of her fables. And if you're new to English second language, that's a really great way to learn some American culture, American lore, and some American expressions. But it's super, super simple reading. So if you're a high schooler, unless you just want something to read you to sleep, I think you'll find it not very interesting. But join me when I read live. I hope to read live. YouTube wouldn't let me today. When I read live on YouTube to my granddaughter doing fables. I don't know which one it's going to be this time. I'm just reading what comes next in the book. So we're growing. I noticed we picked up some new people this week. We're all at 82, I think. Woo! But that's okay. We're going to keep being diligent. We're going to not give up. We're going to be persistent, because that's what we do to succeed. I hope y'all are having a great weekend. You can't see, but my little Pomeranian is snuggled up beside me, and she's reading along with us. So subscribe, like, tell a friend about us, tell a teacher about us. If you're a teacher, reach out to me on Instagram, Best Tutor Friend, and I'd love to thought partner with you on how to work in the classroom with reading comprehension. So thanks so much, guys. You guys are awesome. I will read to you next time. See ya.